Hi, I'm Venkat, and today I'm going to kind of explain concept of wealth and money. And I know a lot of people are always confused about this certain point. And my little background is I was an IIT guy. I was spending a lot of time, about 15 years in corporate life, and then started a social enterprise called eFarm with the idea of benefiting farmers. And we had a lot of ups and downs, both in business and in personal, but there were a lot of lessons learned. So my views on social service, doing good to people, how to make money, becoming a millionaire has come a complete U-turn. But interestingly, it's not that I feel myself as a failure, but my concepts on a lot of these areas are a little more stronger now. So I thought I'll share it with you because I know a lot of you are probably in the same situation, and what exactly is the solution for world poverty or solving hunger or better education, all that. Okay, so first thing is some of the myths which is currently there is this World Bank report which says, like, if you're less than $2 then you are poor. And frankly speaking, I have lived less than $2. $2 in today's value is almost 100 to 120 rupees in Indian terms. Let me tell you very briefly, like for example, if you minimize your needs, for example, I take a cycle. Why? Because most of the time the traffic is so hectic. Even if you drive a car or a bike, you cannot make it beyond a couple of signals. Whereas with a cycle, I'm able to move much faster, and it doesn't have any expenses. Second, I take public transport, and especially in Chennai where I live, public transport is very freely available and very cheap. And in fact, if you take the train, the monthly pass is only about 100 rupees, which means on a daily basis, for 5 rupees, I can go up and down anywhere in Chennai. And interestingly, same in Chennai, we have right down to government food centers called Amma canteens. Not to be on a political stand, but I think it's a very good initiative, and you get very good food. Most people have never been there. They think it is meant for very low class people and all that, but the facilities are extremely well maintained. So that way, a poor person, and if you do some even a basic job, like if you're driving an auto or have a tea shop or whatever, you do get to make at least 200 to 250 rupees a day. And even if you're working as a laborer in a couple of shops, or even as a maid, people do make this amount of 200 to 300 rupees. So as an individual, it is possible to live, and I've been doing this for the last few months. The second is to equate money with happiness. These are two completely different things. If you really think money means happiness, then Bill Gates should not be going around selling condoms. He should not be going around trying to solve finding cure for diseases. He should be rolling around in his fantastic mansion in America and one of the wealthiest estates which he's having, but he's not, because that means something is troubling him. He's not able to sit idle. He's not able to sit happily in his home while thinking that millions of people are actually suffering. And hats off to him, because he's really doing it by showing it, and hats off to his wife Melinda Gates and probably Warren Buffett for driving that. So, but interestingly, most of the people, especially in my generation, the dream has always been to become a millionaire or a billionaire like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. I know a lot of investors, VCs whom I talk to, they always have this book like the Warren Buffett way. But what they don't realize is most of the wealth he has created, he's just openly donating it to people on a philanthropic basis, on a almost on a mindless, thankless kind of way. And he's really trying to show that that's not that's the way to go forward. But people only see one side of the coin and they don't realize the other side. So once again, a very interesting quotation from Mother Teresa says, like, the real disease which she signed, a lot of people think that leprosy or physical disability, that is the greatest evil, and they have to fight it and cure it and all that. And Mother Teresa has always been working with very poor people and very sick conditions. In a very classic statement said, the real disease in this world is not what you think, like polio or leprosy and all that. The real disease is actually loneliness. Okay, and she categorically says she meets a lot of people, a lot of rich people who come and try to do this donation and all that, and they are really lonely. And that's a disease which is often shrouded in mystery, because people go to these therapists and sit there for long hours trying to find a cure for their depression and things like that. And technically you because you've misplaced a lot of your goals and things, and they're never at peace with themselves. They're not able to sleep peacefully at the end of the day. A lot of people have insomnia, a lot of people have other kinds of internal diseases. So when they see somebody who's blind or who's doesn't have an arm or leg, they think that is the disability. Whereas I've worked for the last several years. It also happened by chance, because when I started this company, nobody would work with us, because being a social enterprise, everybody comes and pats on the back, but everybody started asking for a salary, and I could not afford much. Whereas interestingly, I saw a few people on my morning beach walk, and a lot of them were either having some physical disability. I saw that they were the happiest. And I remember one Dr. Padmanabhan used to come from Germany, and he used to take a wheelchair and sit in the beach, and right around him there were at least like 20 or 30 people always talking and chatting and laughing, and the minute he goes back to Germany, the whole beach kind of becomes still, and everybody's seriously walking around. So I got to chat with him, and that was when I started realizing that because when you're working in a corporate world, usually when you see a blind person, you just try to shove it away, and you usually associate a blind person or a disabled person with, oh, just give them a PCO or a telephone booth, and they'll be happy for the rest of their lives. And or you just put a ramp. The classic another mistake we make is, oh, if it's physically disabled, that means you are in a wheelchair. Blind people are not on wheelchairs. People who are hearing impaired, speech impaired, they are not on wheelchairs. So these are other myths in this whole social sector, that oh, disability means wheelchair, and if you put a ramp, everything is sorted out. How dumb can you get? How stupid can you get? That means you really not interact with them. Most of these people who are making these classic plans or sitting in 5-star hotels and coming up with these classic schemes, most of the time have never even seen it. And most of these meetings, I never even see a real underprivileged person or a poor person sitting and giving their viewpoints. They're just making these classic mistakes, spend millions and billions of dollars on this, and suddenly come up with a metric report saying, oh, by the way, you know what, it was a failure, but by the way, it's a nice lessons learned, and package it up, give a report, and keep going on. I've seen this for several years, which is why I think most of these aid people and the things, they really need to get down and start thinking right from ground up. That is when you slowly realize that you actually don't need money to be happy. I've had interactions with right down from, for example, Chelama, who has been supplying vegetables to my house right from when I was a kid, right from my grandfather days. She's 85 years old, and it's not just her. Almost everybody in my colony I see, they are very old ladies who every day morning they go to Coimbatore market. I know that most of you have never been to actual sabji mandi in India, and if you go there, you will just puke and vomit. You will not eat at all, because the kind of filth with which the vegetables are coming into your home, and the kind of rigor they have to go through, running around 5,000 stores and fighting people every day for hours to get that one bandi or a wheelbarrow full of vegetables to your doorstep is immense. It is much more difficult than even farming. A lot of people, once again, these are all lessons learned for me, because there's a lot of limelight on only one segment. You think like, oh, food, that means farmer, but you do not understand that the person who's getting the food to your doorstep, the vegetable vendor, hardly gets any effort. There are no training institutes, there is no aid, there is no training, there is no funds available to them. Even the whole microfinance self-help group has not reached out to them, because these people are working all the time, 24/7. Whereas most of these self-help groups, they have mandates like they have to come and meet every day, they have to fill some books and rotate something and go to the bank and all that. So these are people who have been running a business. Every day they borrow money at very high interest rates, and every day they sell, they make the money and return it back to the money lender. So, and typically they don't talk in interest rates. Typically the bankers talk in interest rates like 12%, 14%. These people talk in very crude terms like "Nootuku patte," like 100 ke liye 10, 100 ka 10, 100 ka 20, which means very crudely like, okay, if I give you $100, I will actually deduct $20 initially, give you 80, and if you have to return it back to me, you have to give me as 100 plus 20. So literally on a daily basis, they are borrowing money at 20 to 30% on a daily rates, and they're doing it successfully. And that is how India's crude money lending works at the bottom. And if you still ask them, for a lot of times I've said, Chelama, you're getting old, why don't you come and work with me? She said, no, I have customers, and if I don't work, where will they get their vegetables from? Second, I've also said, why don't you borrow money from self-help groups? I know a lot of people, like, kind of, and she was the one who said, like, never borrow money, and it's respect, which is very important. The minute you even borrow 1 rupee, and not just her, almost every person whom I've seen in business in the underbelly of India, They have understood in a very, very crude way. They have all made the mistakes of borrowing money from their friends or family or something. They have seen the repercussions of people coming and shouting in their homes and creating disruptions, and then they have struggled, sold their jewels or whatever it is, come out of debt, and after that they do not want to borrow a single rupee from them. So all this talk about inclusive banking and Jandan, all that shit is it's just frankly speaking, I don't think it really cuts to the bottom level. And yes, they may use a bank just for deposits or whatever it is, but for the day-to-day business, I think most of them, cash still rules in India very, very strongly. It is nothing to do with black money or white money. It's just that they don't trust the banks. And even I have seen, whereas if you go into a bank as an NRI, the kind of treatment I got when I was an American, when I was in America and sending dollars, versus when I came back to India and opened a simple account, you have to stand in a big queue and nobody's giving you any special privileges, whereas the NRI counter is always open. How many NRIs actually come to Chennai or visit the ICICI bank counter on a Monday morning? None. It is just empty and the guy is just sitting there giving privileged service to somebody who's never there. That's funny, but that's how banking system is. They are always waiting for these dollars to come in, and that way the debt is going on, because frankly speaking, in India, even though you say you have freedom and all that, you've really not got freedom, because whatever Gandhi said, it's very nice to put a 200 feet statue of everybody, but their ideals are very, very different. At that time, they wanted to drive away the British. They burnt all the foreign clothes as a symbolism that we need to become Swadeshi. But just look around you. Every city has become a mall city. People want foreign brands. From top to bottom, you're wearing foreign brands. You want foreign direct investment to run your own businesses. And the entire government is begging. You are a nation of beggars. You have not come out of debt, and as long as you keep borrowing, the interest rates are pretty high, whether it's World Bank or VCs or whatever. Nobody's going to put money like charity. They want their money back, and if you're not able to return their money back, God help you. So my simple plan has always been to become debt free. Me as a company, me as an individual, yes, we have a lot of debts. I do have assets. It's very easy to sell my house and become debt free overnight. But a house, I realized, is like your only sanctuary. And if you have a home, and that's where your heart is, and you don't want to sell your mother, you don't want to sell your motherland, like if you see, the entire Mahabharata was fought for just a small piece of land which the five Pandavas wanted, which they did not get. So all wars, all frustration start if you don't have a proper home. So yes, that is important. That's why I never pledged my home. A lot of people, when they run the business, they pledge their home, and people come and take away the home, which is very emotionally strong. So my simple advice is, make sure you at least have a home. It could be on a street corner also. I've seen people when I stop at the signals or something, there are a lot of homeless people. People always feel very sympathetic to them, but actually if you see, they're very happy. They have a lot of kids. They're running around playing on the dirt right on the platform. They're having food, they're talking, they're making some little money malas or whatever. They do beg, but they've also become value-added providers now. Now they don't beg, they come and give you some car cleaners and perfumes and all that. So they know that whenever the traffic stops, at least there are 100 cars just jammed up, and they do quick business, and within a day, I'm pretty sure they make easily 200 to 300 bucks. And as I said, that's quite more than enough to survive right now. Even if you do want to step up the value chain and be somewhat more reasonable, yes, it's nice to say that, but if you do want to have a family and a wife and a kids and all that, there are some basic expectations from the partner. So how do you make money from nothing? The answer is very simple. God has provided all of us with all the wealth we need. Sometimes you do not realize what you're born with. Just look at your brains, look at your eyes, look at your nose, look at your mouth, look at your ears, your senses, your hands, your feet. What more do you need? And now you suddenly think, if I poke your eyes and make you blind right now, would you be as effective as a person who's blind? Actually, the blind people I know are much more effective than normal people. We think they have a disability. They don't, because they have completely focused their strengths on hearing and listening and speaking, that they are able to take the train. I have people who take the train, who take that same bus which you and I take, cross the same roads which you and I take. Yes, they might somewhat need help, but they're quick to kind of move along, and they're always on time. I've always noticed that people who are visually challenged always reach my office on time, whereas the people who are sighted, when I give an office address, they call me 10 times, 20 times, even though they have Google Maps and this and that. They're always distracted. They can never find my office. Even after reaching, they give excuses. This always happens. I have been seeing this for the last 5 years, which is why I'm saying, people whom we think we are normal, I think they are abnormal because they are not focusing their attention. Whereas people who are somewhat disabled, they quickly understand that they need to refocus on some other strengths which they have, which the normal person keeps on avoiding. So stop worrying about disabled people. I think everybody is only temporarily abled. Okay, you are only one little accident away from losing your eyes or nose or mouth or whatever. So don't suddenly start saying, oh, this man is blind, oh, this man is mad, this man is thing. One small accident, it can happen right in your home. You can slip and fall and bang your head on the corner of the door, and the whole world can come upside down. So instead of sympathizing with that, be thankful what you as an individual has been provided. On top of that, if you're from a good family, you've got good education and from a good college and you have good experiences, you're probably already in the top 1% of the cream of the nation. Thank yourself that the sperm and the egg which met did not put you in a very bad environment where you had to become a thug to survive. There is nothing wrong in being even a thug or a drug addict to that extent, because at the end of the day we need to survive. Everybody needs food to survive, and there is no good or bad. If you see any of your spiritual books, whatever be it, it will always say there is nothing like good or evil. All that is same. There is akarma and sukarma and vikarma. Like there's good or bad, and both of us is bad because you have to reap the benefits. Don't get into this and just keep doing what you think you need to do. Keep yourself happy. To be happy, the main thing is you need to cut down. There are basic things like for what you need as what is your need, which is very fundamental. Ultimately, what we need is good food, good water, good air to breathe so that our body functions normally. We need a good environment, a quiet environment, so that our mind can be stable. If these two are your body and mind and soul are exactly in sync, I think that's you're already there. You can do anything. Okay, only when you create imbalance, that is when issues start happening. And when that happens, then from basic needs you get into desires, where you do want something. You want a bigger house, you want a car, you want thing, which is also okay, because it's good to have desires. It drives you. Otherwise you get complacent and you just sit like a Swamiji in a corner. Desires are good. Beyond desire is greed. When you start saying, I want what the other man wants. Oh, Bill Gates is having this mansion, I also want it. Mukesh Ambani is having this, I also want it. That is unreasonable desire, is greed, where only you want to enjoy and you also want to suck up somebody else's enjoyment. Then you get into greed. Greed leads to envy and fights and angers and whatever. And I'm pretty sure other people look at these for role models. That is where you need to be very careful who your role models are. As long as you pick the right role models, I think life is same. Once again, when it comes to generosity, I know there's a lot of talk about how to actually make the poor rich. Should you give money directly to them? Is it microfinance, inclusion, or whatever? First of all, stop saying this poor rich kind of divide, because for every person, the next person below him looks poor, whereas the person above you is richer than you. So where do you draw the line between? For Bill Gates, you and I are beggars literally, because he makes, if he coughs, money falls out of his feet, out of his mouth and feet. So that kind of a scenario, you shouldn't be worrying about somebody below you. First of all, make sure that you are truly rich in terms of being happy and being fulfilling what your basic needs and desires are. And as long as that is happening, try to share that experience with the people right around you. You don't have to be like Mahatma Gandhi or Mother Teresa trying to serve millions of people. You cannot, because physically or emotionally you cannot bear that kind of thing. Very few people have that ability to drive that kind of level. As long as you can take care of even 10 people. The real, sometimes people say, I want something to create a global impact, I want it to scale. If one person becomes stable, if you don't know swimming and you are bad in swimming, you cannot go and save somebody else who is drowning. If you are not happy, you cannot make somebody else happy. First, you become happy. If you are happy, try to make your immediate surroundings happy so that you retain that happiness, because any fluttering happening right around your environment is going to make you unhappy. If you can make that, great. Now these 10 people, give them the same strength and same consciousness which you're having, so that they can go and do the same. So each person starts taking care of 10 people, like a chain. And that is something which is manageable, because you can handle on a single day. You can talk to 10 people, just find out what they want, because it's not just giving money to them and say, oh, they're all happy. No, there is a lot of emotional support which is required. There's physical support which is required, and that is where it is very draining. You cannot keep on giving that to everybody whom you meet. So you have to be very, very shrewd and say, who are those 10 people? If I do want to save, who are those 10 people whom I want to save, and beyond that it's really beyond my capacity. So if you are watching this video and do want to save the world and things like that, there's a very interesting Michael Jackson video. It says if you want to change the world, start looking at the man in the mirror. And that is exactly why I have a mirror in front of me and talking to a mirror, and why I have this little camera phone here is I'm not rich enough to have this Samsung or this Apple tab, which I actually don't need. It's so flimsy, and a small amount of moisture or a crack, it falls off and breaks off, and for 50,000 bucks I have to take an EMI to buy a phone which hardly lasts 2 to 3 months. In fact, even this smartphone, I'm really dumb with it. I used to have a Nokia phone which was fantastic. It was just 800 bucks. My dad's phone, I was using it, but unfortunately Nokia went out of business, and all good things are dying that way. And now you're stuck with some stupid junk pieces, and you touch and scratch and spit and wave at the phone, which is all very silly because these are all fads. And at the end of the day, people don't want to communicate. Like when you pick up the phone and talk, oh, I'm busy, come on WhatsApp, come on WeChat, come on this, come on, for the last 15-20 years we've seen emails and chats. At the end of the day, when you want to communicate, people have lost that basic. They can't even communicate beyond a few words or sentences. And if you start talking like this for 15-20 minutes, they get bored and switch off the channel. They want to say how to fast forward this and get to the end and get to the message. Just say it briefly and get on. Yes, I can say it briefly, but people keep quizzing me again and again. So at the end of the day, even if you do nothing, it is fine. Because doing nothing is the most difficult thing in the world. And every day, that's what I think. I look at every people around me for inspiration, the chai wala or the sabji wali. I think everybody has a little struggle or a fight, and how they overcome. And most of the fight seems to be, yes, around money or something, but most of the time, even if you give money, it immediately gets rotated into say medicines or education and all that. So even if you give 5 lakhs to a lady, she's not going to keep it in a bank or buy jewels and stuff like that. Yes, sometimes they may, but most of the time they immediately want to use it for their kids' education. And once again, that is where they're getting stuck up, because education is becoming extremely expensive. Medical facilities are becoming extremely expensive. Under the paragraph that better care is available, they're just fleecing. Most of the hospitals are now becoming 5-star hospitals. The charges are extremely high, and even care wise, they're just killing people. People walk in with just a fever and come out as a dead body, and this is happening right around me. So it's scary that most of the doctors are just money minting people. So you've lost the trust of these medical systems or even the education systems, and frankly even agriculture. The food we eat is now filled with pesticides and chemicals under this garb that they are increasing food supply. They're just pumping chemicals into us. So it's not just organic or inorganic. Our entire life has become plastic. We have become like robots. We have become like computers. We only want to talk to something. Even a customer, you want to talk only remotely. An automatic, you put a Twitter message or something, and there's a robot which automatically responds to the customer. Fine. At the end of the day, somebody has to pick up the phone, talk, go solve the problem. If that does not happen, all these automated tools and all that, they are not going to solve the problem for you. And that is my simple message for people, saying take this money system out, because right around you, just look around you, there are ants working every single day, birds are flying, they're all having families, they're all having issues. They also have you have a fear of something, they have fear of death also, but they lead a perfectly happy life. And if they get sick or whatever, Mother Nature provides them the facility to regrow or cure themselves and stuff like that. So if you have a pet or a dog or cat or something, just look at it. It's not looking for money. It comes and hugs you and kisses you, and all the love which it needs. In almost every religion, it's say Anbe Sivam, or love is God or whatever. But you've forgotten love. Love is the center of everything. As long as you love somebody, or you have something to love, be it a mother or a child or a father or a brother or whatever, that is the strength. That is the bond. That is the glue which comes to everything. If you don't love, whether it's a business or passion or work or something, if you're just doing it mundanely for the sake of doing something, trust me, you are really not going to get anywhere. So make sure, the simple thing is money is not the center of the universe. Food is the center of the universe, because everybody needs food. And sometimes love, if you have, you can even bypass food, because people in love, sometimes they don't eat, they don't drink, they're always dreaming about the other person. So I would put love even higher than food. But occasionally, you can't survive beyond a certain point. You do have to eat. So love and food, and love for food, I should say, is really at the center of the universe. And make sure you are somewhere aligning yourself to that, and close to the center is always safe. But if you're doing anything else, any other work, and if you do want to help us or help anybody around you, just make sure first of all you have enough help and you are stable before trying to go around helping other people. Okay, so I'd like to end this with this classic Jerry Maguire statement which says, help me help you. So similarly, help yourself first before you come and help me. Okay, so I don't need any help. So a lot of people have asked and said, Venki, I heard you like this, you're like, do you need something? No, I don't need money, I don't need help, I don't need anything. First make sure you are stable. That itself is a big help. And if you have something else to offer, yes, we can talk about it. We can talk at a business level, we can talk at a philanthropic level, but which is where I'm seeing, like, sometimes you have any expectations and that expectation is not aligning itself. That creates anxiety on both sides. So it's better to lead life without much expectations from anything. I think thank my angels, that my guardian angels, that I have everything which I need, and I'm going on, and I'm just sharing this with you, this video with you, so that as many people can be benefited. Okay, so signing off. Thank you so much.